Inside the hangar at Lagos Airport, a silent crowd of engineers circled a giant silver jet engine resting on a wheeled stand. Red tool carts stood open. A clock on the wall ticked too loudly. A billionaire in a navy blue suit checked the time. Again. Engineers wiped sweat. Security watched the doors. Then a clear voice cut through the noise. "If you permit, I will fix it." Heads snapped toward the open hangar door. A young woman stood there in a tattered gown, her hair wild from wind and heat. She looked thin, like someone who had been skipping meals. Grease stained her fingers. Her eyes, bright and steady, looked only at the engine. Laughter broke the tension. "Are you joking?" Engineer Sam asked, half smiling, half tired. Sam's jet, maintenance, repair, and overhaul. He had worked on private jets for 20 years. "We've been at this for 6 hours. One of his engineers shook his head. "Who let her in?" "Security," another called. "Please take her out." 2 guards stepped forward. The man in the navy blue suit, Andrew Jacobs, billionaire CEO and owner of the sleek Bombardier Challenger, parked outside, raised his hand. "Stop." His voice was calm but strong. "In my line of business, I have seen unusual things. Let the young lady speak." The guards froze. The girl took one more step. "Sir," she said, eyes still on the engine, "I heard your team say there was an unusual noise during landing, like a whistle. Then the engine ran rough and wouldn't spool properly after shutdown. May I look?" Sam's mouth opened in surprise. "That is exactly what happened," he muttered. Andrew studied her face. The hangar buzzed with the distant hum of generators and the faint smell of jet fuel. Outside, gulls cried over the runway. Inside, no one breathed. "Give her the gloves," Andrew said. A ripple of shock moved through the team. The guards stepped back. Someone handed the girl a pair of clean grey gloves. Her hands trembled for a second as she slid them on, and then they didn't tremble anymore. She moved to the engine with quiet confidence, checked the intake, ran her fingers lightly along the sensor harness, and listened, as if the metal itself could whisper its secret. She crouched by a small panel near the compressor section and tapped it gently. "Do you even know what you're touching?" a young engineer asked. She didn't answer him. She reached for a flashlight and a small mirror. Her face drew close to the open panel. "There," she said softly. "That clamp is wrong. It's tight, but it's on the wrong groove. That makes a tiny air leak. The leak sings like a whistle under load. And here," she traced a wire. "This sensor wire has a small crack in the insulation. It's rubbing against the bracket. When it heats up, it tells the engine the wrong thing. The system tries to correct, and the engine feels rough." Sam blinked. "How could we miss that?" "Because both problems hide each other," she said. "The leak makes the sound. The bad wire makes the engine act sick. If you fix only one, you still see trouble." Andrew stepped closer. "Can you fix it?" She looked up at him, then at the tools. "If you permit." His eyes held hers for a long second. "Do it." The hangar changed. The team shifted from doubt to watchfulness. The girl's hands moved fast and neat. She loosened the clamp, reset it into the proper groove, and tightened it to a clean click. She trimmed and rewrapped the sensor wire, laid a sleeve over it, and tied it away from the metal bracket so it wouldn't rub again. She cleaned the area and checked it twice. Then a third time, she worked like someone who knew engines the way a singer knows a song. Sam leaned forward, his mouth open. His lead engineer whispered, "Boss, she might be right." "Time?" Andrew asked without looking at his watch. 17 minutes, someone answered. The girl straightened. Sweat dotted her forehead. She pulled off the gloves and set them carefully on the cart. "I'm done," she said. There was silence. Sam took a slow breath. "We'll test it," he said, trying to sound firm. But his voice had changed. There was respect in it now. Andrew nodded once. "Roll it out." The crew moved quickly. The engine stand clicked and rolled across the polished floor. Outside, the afternoon sun poured gold over the tarmac. A ground cart was hooked. Cables were joined. Safety cones appeared. The team spoke in short, careful words. The girl stood back, hands clasped, watching everything, ready if anyone asked for her. "Who are you?" Andrew asked quietly, stepping beside her. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the wet away. "If the test goes well, she said softly. I will tell you my name. He studied her for a heartbeat, then gave a small nod. Sam and his team finished their checks. He looked up at Andrew and gave a thumbs up. Andrew returned it and walked to the control cart himself, the tail of his suit sharp against the sun. He placed his hand on the starter switch, but paused and glanced back at the girl. She stood very still, the wind lifting strands of her hair. In her eyes was something fierce and quiet, like a small flame refusing to go out. Everyone clear, Sam called. Cones were checked again. Lines were clear. 2 mechanics moved to safe positions. The warning beacons began to spin, blinking red across the white wing of the Challenger. The airport air felt thinner, as if the whole of Lagos held its breath with them. Andrew rested his thumb on the starter. The clock on the hangar wall ticked once, loud as a knock. Here we go, he said. He pressed the button, and the world around the engine leaped to life. A low whine rose, faster and faster. Numbers climbed on the small screen. The whine deepened into a smooth rush, and then a sharp alarm chirped. Sam's head snapped toward the panel. A single red light blinked. The sound wavered. Every face turned to the girl in the torn dress. She took one step forward, eyes locked on the engine, and lifted her hand as if to say, "Wait, listen." The hangar felt frozen in time. Every mechanic, every engineer, every guard, even Andrew Jacobs himself, waited to see if the engine would roar to life or choke like before. The warning light glared red, casting a faint glow across the metal surface. The sound of the jet engine wavered, rising and falling as though caught between working and dying. Olivia, though no one yet knew her name, stood with her arm raised. Her voice cut through the panic. "Don't shut it down. Not yet. Listen carefully." Sam scowled. "Are you crazy? A warning light means danger. We could damage the core if—" "It's not the core," she interrupted firmly. "It's just the sensor recalibrating. I rewired it. The system needs a moment to accept the correct reading." Her words carried a calmness that startled everyone. Andrew's sharp eyes shifted between Sam and the young woman. He had run billion-dollar companies long enough to know when someone spoke with authority. And she did. "Hold it steady," Andrew commanded. His voice silenced all doubt. The whine of the turbine grew smoother. The red warning light flickered. Once, twice, and then turned green. Gasps rippled through the hangar. The engine's hum transformed into a steady, powerful rush, the sound of perfection. A Challenger jet engine was alive again. Sam staggered back. His face turned pale. One of his engineers dropped his wrench. Another muttered under his breath, "Impossible." Andrew's lips parted, eyes widening in disbelief. For 6 hours, his best men had battled this machine, sweating, swearing, failing. And in under 20 minutes, this homeless girl, this stranger in a tattered gown, had done what none of them could. He turned slowly toward her. "What is your name?" His voice was almost a whisper, but the hangar carried it like thunder. The girl swallowed hard. Tears welled in her eyes, but she stood straight. "My name is Olivia Williams." The name meant nothing to most of the engineers, but Sam's face dropped as though he had been struck. "Williams," he breathed. "From Nigeria Aerospace University. Top of your class. You're her." Murmurs rippled across the hangar floor. They had all heard the stories. The prodigy who had dazzled professors, the young woman destined for greatness in aerospace. And then, nothing. She had vanished 2 years ago, as though the earth had swallowed her whole. Andrew's sharp gaze never left her. "Explain," he said softly, and there, standing in the glow of the still-spinning engine, Olivia's voice cracked as she spoke. 2 years ago, my father woke up one morning and announced he was marrying a second wife. My mother couldn't bear it. She poisoned his food, and when he collapsed, she ate the same meal, saying they would die together before she watched him betray her. Her voice trembled, but she continued. "I was their only child. I was 20, just months out of school, about to begin my dream job with one of the best aerospace firms in the world. But when they both died in front of me, I shattered. I couldn't face life. I cancelled my interviews. I threw my phone away. I wandered until I lost myself completely. I ended up on the streets, begging to survive." The hangar was silent, except for the engine's hum. Even Sam bowed his head, ashamed of how he had mocked her minutes earlier. Olivia's eyes burned with tears. "But every day, I passed this repair center. I would stare through the fence, remembering the future I lost. And today, when I heard your voices, when I saw how helpless you all were, I thought just once let me try. Even if I get thrown out, even if people laugh at me, at least I will not have died with my dream still locked inside. Lotta. Owlmane. Andrew's throat tightened. For the first time in years, tears threatened his eyes. He was a man used to boardrooms, contracts, and numbers. Yet this young woman's honesty pierced him more deeply than any speech. Sam's voice cracked. You saved us. You saved him. He pointed toward Andrew's Challenger jet gleaming outside. We would have failed. Andrew stepped closer, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. He placed a hand gently on Olivia's shoulder. You didn't just fix my engine. You reminded me why second chances matter. He turned to the crowd. You all saw it. Remember this moment. His voice boomed with authority. Greatness is not about appearance, not about titles. It's about truth, skill, and heart. And today, this young woman had all three. Olivia trembled, unsure if she should bow or step back. But Andrew wasn't done. Olivia Williams, he declared, from this moment on, you will never beg for food again. You will never walk these streets homeless again. I will personally make sure the world knows who you are. Gasps and applause broke out among the engineers. Sam himself clapped, though tears blurred his vision. Olivia covered her mouth with her hands, overwhelmed. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel like a cruel memory. It felt real. Andrew glanced at his watch. I need to be in London in 6 hours. And I am not going there without you. Her eyes widened. Sir, you fixed my jet. You fly with me. The hangar erupted again. Sam whispered to his team. She's going to London, on that jet she saved. Minutes later, Olivia stood outside the hangar, staring at her reflection in the jet's polished surface. For the first time, she didn't see a beggar. She saw who she was always meant to be. But as she touched the cool metal, her heart raced with fear. Could this truly be happening? Or would it all vanish like a dream? Behind her, Andrew's voice broke the silence. Get ready. The world is about to know your name. And as Olivia climbed the steps into the private jet, none of them knew that her story had only just begun. The Challenger jet's cabin gleamed like a floating palace. Cream leather seats curved gracefully around polished wooden tables. Gold-toned light spilled from the ceiling, soft but powerful. Olivia sat stiffly near the window, her tattered gown and tangled hair looking terribly out of place in this world of wealth. She kept her eyes on the runway lights outside, blinking against the tears she couldn't hold back. The door sealed shut. Engines roared. The jet rolled forward, Olivia's chest tightening with every vibration. She had dreamed of sitting in a plane like this once, when her life still made sense. Never had she imagined she would be here, not as a passenger, but as the savior of the very machine that carried them skyward. Across from her, Andrew Jacob leaned back with the ease of a man used to commanding the world. But his eyes never left Olivia. He studied her the way a historian studies a rare, forgotten book. You worked on my jet like someone born to fix it, Andrew said finally, his voice steady over the hum of takeoff. Tell me the truth. Where did you train? Olivia swallowed. Nigeria Aerospace University, sir. I graduated top of my class, the first female student to score distinction in aircraft maintenance. Andrew raised his brows. And yet, here you are, in a torn dress, hungry. Her face burned with shame. She dropped her gaze to her hands. Life tore me down. After my parents' death, nothing made sense. I lost the will to fight. For a moment, silence hung in the cabin, broken only by the steady thrum of the engines. Andrew reached into the compartment beside him and pulled out a small velvet box. He placed it on the table between them. Open it. Olivia hesitated, then lifted the lid. Inside lay a gold bracelet, simple yet radiant, etched with the initials AJ. Her lips parted. Sir, Andrew raised a hand. This bracelet belonged to my late wife. She believed in lifting people who had fallen. I am passing it to you tonight, because I believe you are not meant to live on the streets. You are meant to lead. Tears filled Olivia's eyes. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. She closed the box with trembling hands. Andrew leaned forward. Tomorrow, in London, you will meet executives from JJ Jet Maintenance, the very company that once offered you a position. I will introduce you as the woman who saved my Challenger. They will listen. Olivia's heart stopped. JJ Jet Maintenance. She had dreamed of that moment 2 years ago, before her world crumbled. She had cut them off, buried her future under grief, and now like a miracle it was returning. "Sir, what if they laugh at me?" she whispered. Andrew's sharp gaze softened. "Then they laugh at me too, for believing in you. But I doubt they will. Your gift is too rare." The plane steadied at cruising altitude. A hostess appeared, bowing respectfully. "Dinner is ready, sir." Andrew motioned to Olivia. "Bring her clothes." The hostess returned with a sleek gold gown that shimmered under the cabin lights and a small case of toiletries. Olivia's mouth fell open. This is for me?" Andrew nodded. "You'll not walk into tomorrow's meeting in rags. You will walk in as who you are meant to be." For the first time in years, Olivia smiled through her tears. She disappeared into the cabin's restroom. Minutes stretched. When she returned, the room seemed to change. Her hair, neatly washed and tied in a graceful bun, glistened under the lights. The gown hugged her slender frame, simple yet elegant, turning her from a homeless girl into a queen. Even her eyes looked brighter, as if hope itself had polished them. Andrew rose to his feet, stunned. He had seen models in Paris, actresses in Hollywood, business leaders in London, but never had he seen transformation this powerful. "You look," he said quietly, "like destiny itself." Olivia laughed softly, shyly. "I don't feel like destiny. I just feel like me. Again." Dinner passed with quiet conversation. Andrew asked about her childhood dreams, her professors, her love for engines. She spoke with passion, her voice coming alive as though a locked door inside her had opened. When the meal ended, Andrew leaned back, his eyes unreadable. "Olivia, when this jet lands, you will have a choice. You can walk away and disappear again, or you can step into the life you were born for. Which will it be?" Her hands gripped the armrest, her breath shaking. She remembered the nights on the street, begging for bread. The days she walked past Sam's repair center, staring at the life she had lost, and now this chance, a door opening she thought, had been sealed forever. Her voice broke, but her words were firm. "I will step into it. I will not run again." Andrew's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Good." As the jet sliced through the night sky, Olivia turned to the window. Below, the lights of cities glimmered like constellations. She thought of her parents, the tragedy, the betrayal, the pain. For the first time, she felt they were no longer chains around her neck. They were shadows behind her, and she was walking into light. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I will not waste this chance." But what Olivia did not know, what even Andrew could not guess, was that destiny had more in store for her than a job. A storm was waiting in London. Secrets, decisions, and someone who would soon change her life in ways she could not imagine. As the jet soared higher into the dark, Andrew adjusted his tie, staring thoughtfully at Olivia. For the first time in years, hope flickered in his own heart too. Yet deep inside him, a voice whispered, "What if I am wrong about her? What if she fails?" And Olivia, though she tried to stay strong, felt her stomach twist with the same question. What if tomorrow destroys me again? The Challenger cut across the Atlantic sky, carrying two people whose lives were about to collide with fate itself. The wheels of the Challenger jet kissed the runway at London City Airport. Just as dawn painted the sky a pale orange, Olivia pressed her palms against her knees, trying to calm the storm inside her. Every breath she took felt too heavy, every thought too loud. She had told Andrew she was ready, but now that the moment was here, fear clutched her throat like iron. Andrew, sharp as ever in his navy blue suit, noticed. He leaned toward her and spoke softly. "Remember, Olivia's skills speak louder than appearances. Don't try to impress, just be who you are." The car that whisked them away gleamed black against the wet streets. London's skyscrapers reflected the rising sun. Olivia's eyes darted between the city outside and her own trembling reflection in the tinted glass. This is it. No more running, she told herself. By mid-morning, Olivia found herself standing inside a high-rise tower of glass and steel, home to JJ Jet Maintenance, Repair, and Overhaul International. The boardroom was wide, the ceiling high, walls lined with screens displaying aircraft schematics and glowing numbers. At the far end of a long table sat a group of executives in dark suits, each with expressions sharp enough to cut glass. One man, grey-haired with thin glasses, adjusted his tie and looked directly at Andrew. Mr. Jacobs, we've waited 6 hours for this meeting. I hope you have good reason. Andrew's voice was calm, commanding. I do. I bring you Olivia Williams, the engineer who repaired my Challenger jet after your competitors failed. Whispers rippled across the table. A woman in a red blazer raised a brow. That girl. Her eyes swept Olivia from head to toe, lingering on her gold gown. She looks untested. Is no the storm. Olivia's chest tightened. She clasped her hands behind her back to keep them from shaking. Andrew's tone sharpened. Do not judge by what you see. Judge by what she can do. The grey-haired man leaned forward. Very well, Miss Williams, Mr. Jacobs speaks highly of you. But skill in a Nigerian hangar is not the same as skill at our international level. Tell us, what exactly did you fix on his jet? Olivia drew a breath. This was her moment. The compressor section clamp was secured on the wrong groove, creating a leak that produced a whistling sound under load. At the same time, a sensor wire's insulation had cracked. The wire was rubbing against a bracket, confusing the system and making the engine run rough. Either issue alone would be hard to find. Together, they disguised each other. That's why the repair team failed. Her voice steadied as she spoke, her passion spilling out. But engines talk. You just have to listen. The whistle was air, not core. The rough spool was information error, not damage. Fixing both gave the truth back to the machine. Silence fell. The executives stared at her. One of them, an older woman with silver hair, pulled into a bun, tilted her head, impressed despite herself. That's correct. The man in glasses frowned. Anyone can memorize a manual. Andrew's jaw tightened, but Olivia raised her hand slightly. May I? She asked. The woman in the red blazer gestured toward the screen at the wall. Go ahead. Olivia walked to the screen, where a digital schematic of a jet engine spun slowly. Her fingers hovered over the controls. Give me a random failure scenario, she said. The man in glasses smirked. You're bold. Very well. He typed quickly. The screen blinked, and a set of numbers scrambled. A warning light flashed red beside the virtual engine. Olivia scanned the data, eyes narrowing. This isn't the turbine or the fuel line, she murmured. It's a vibration sensor, giving false high readings. Either the sensor is loose or the calibration offset is wrong. She tapped a few keys, isolating the problem. See? The vibration pattern doesn't match physical stress. This is software echo. Recalibration will fix it. She turned back to the boardroom, steady and calm. If this were real, I'd check the mounting first, but I can assure you the engine itself is fine. The red warning light disappeared. The screen confirmed. Sensor calibration error resolved. The room went still. The woman with the silver bun spoke first. She's right. Her voice carried weight. Perfectly right. The man in glasses leaned back, face pale. Andrew allowed himself the smallest smile. Now do you see? The red blazer executive crossed her arms. We can't deny her brilliance. But brilliance alone isn't enough. Running a branch requires discipline, leadership, and resilience. Andrew stood. His voice filled the room. Olivia has all three. She survived losing her parents in the most tragic way. She endured homelessness for 2 years, and yet she still carries her knowledge like a torch that refused to die. If that is not resilience, what is? The woman in the bun nodded slowly. Perhaps it's time we stop underestimating women like her. She turned to Olivia. Miss Williams, if we gave you Lagos, the biggest branch in Africa, what would you do? Olivia's heart pounded. She looked at Andrew, then back at the executives. I would turn it into the most profitable branch in the world. Not for pride, but to prove that no tragedy, no circumstance can bury true potential. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the man in glasses sighed, setting down his pen. Let her try. I can't deny what I've seen. The woman in red pursed her lips, but gave a curt nod. Finally, the silver-haired woman smiled faintly. Welcome to JJ Jet Maintenance, Olivia Williams. From this day forward, Lagos is yours. The words hit Olivia like thunder. Tears blurred her vision. She bowed her head, whispering, Thank you. Andrew's hand pressed gently on her shoulder. You've earned this. But as they left the boardroom, Andrew's phone buzzed. His face changed as he read the message. Lines of worry creased his brow. Olivia noticed. Sir, is something wrong? Andrew's lips tightened. It seems not everyone is happy with this decision. There may be opposition waiting in Lagos. Olivia's stomach dropped. After finally stepping back into the life she thought she had lost, was someone already plotting to tear it away? The door to the future had opened, but shadows were waiting just beyond it. The flight back to Lagos was different. The Challenger jet hummed with pride, the same engine that Olivia had saved, now carrying her into a future she never thought possible. Andrew sat across from her, his phone buzzing endlessly as he arranged details for her appointment. Olivia should have felt victorious, yet unease shadowed her heart. His words in London lingered. There may be opposition waiting in Lagos, and be a tenny to desote. When they landed, reporters crowded the tarmac. Flashbulbs exploded. Cameras whirred. News had already spread that a homeless girl had achieved what trained engineers could not. Andrew shielded Olivia with his arm as security guided them through the crowd. Inside the newly built Lagos branch of JJ Jet Maintenance, tension thickened the air. The hangar gleamed with fresh paint, equipment neatly arranged, staff lined up for introductions. But beneath the polished welcome, Olivia sensed skepticism. Sam was there too. Andrew had invited him to witness her first steps as head of the branch. His face carried respect now, but also guilt. He had laughed at her once, and the memory weighed on him. The regional director, Mr. Adewale, stepped forward. His handshake was stiff. "So you're the young woman from the papers," he said, his voice flat. "I must admit, I find it difficult to accept that someone so inexperienced will head our largest African operation." Olivia met his eyes, steady despite her racing heart. "Judge me not by where I have been, but by what I can do," she replied quietly. Murmurs rippled through the staff. Some looked impressed, others looked unconvinced. Barely a week into her leadership, the challenge arrived. A high-profile client's Gulfstream jet reported severe engine trouble just before an international flight. Panic swept through the Lagos branch. Failure would ruin their reputation before Olivia even settled into her role. Adewale folded his arms. "Let's see what the miracle girl can do." His tone dripped with doubt. Olivia swallowed her fear. "Bring the aircraft in." The jet was towed into the hangar. Mechanics gathered, whispering. Olivia walked around the engine, her fingers brushing the metal as though listening for a heartbeat. She closed her eyes, recalling the years she had spent in classrooms, the books she devoured, the passion that never died. "This isn't a fuel problem," she said after minutes of silence. "It's a faulty bleed valve. It sticks open under load, which bleeds away air the compressor needs. That's why it stalls." Sam stepped forward. "She's right." He didn't hesitate this time. "I saw the signs too, but she explained it before I could." Adewale scowled. "Fix it then. If you fail, this branch fails with you." With steady hands, Olivia led the repair. She directed the team, teaching as she worked, showing them the logic behind every step. Within hours, the engine was tested and roared back to perfect life. The client, stunned, shook her hand personally and promised to spread the word of her brilliance. For the first time, the Lagos staff erupted in cheers for her. But Olivia noticed Adewale in the corner, his jaw tight. His pride had been wounded, and wounded pride often led to dangerous schemes. That evening, Olivia sat alone in her office. The cheers of her team still echoed faintly in the hangar, but her heart was heavy. She had proven herself again, yet the look in Adewale's eyes warned her that he was not done. A knock came at the door. Andrew entered, his face warm with pride. "You've done more in a week than many do in years. Lagos is alive under your leadership." Olivia smiled faintly. "But not everyone believes in me. Jest a not inder. A doesn't the self." Andrew sighed. "Envy is louder than applause. But trust me, you've planted something no enemy can uproot." Before Olivia could reply, another knock came. Jerry stepped in. Andrew's son was taller than she expected, with a gentle smile and eyes that studied her with quiet intensity. He had returned from London after completing his MBA, ready to resume his role as company accountant. "So this is the Olivia I've been hearing about," Jerry said softly. "The woman who fixed my father's jet and now commands Lagos." Olivia blushed. "I wouldn't say command. I just try to listen to what the machines need." Jerry chuckled. "And people too, I think. You listen better than most leaders." Over the next weeks, their paths crossed often over dinner at Andrew's mansion. Late nights balancing figures in the office. Quiet talks on the balcony overlooking the Lagos skyline. Jerry's calm presence soothed Olivia's fears, and Olivia's fire inspired Jerry in return. It wasn't long before whispers began. Staff noticed the way Jerry's eyes lingered on Olivia, the way her smile lit up around him. One evening, after a long day of reviewing contracts, Jerry invited Olivia to the balcony. The city sparkled below, headlights weaving through streets like rivers of light. He turned to her, his heart pounding. "Olivia, you came into our lives like a storm. You fixed what others couldn't fix, not just engines, but hope. I don't want to imagine a life without you." He knelt down, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside lay a diamond ring that caught the light of the city. "Will you marry me?" Tears spilled down Olivia's cheeks. For years, she had been invisible, broken, homeless. Now here she stood, chosen and cherished. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Yes." Months later, Lagos witnessed a wedding unlike any other. The cathedral glittered with flowers and chandeliers. The who's who of Nigeria's elite filled the pews. Reporters packed the steps outside. Andrew himself walked Olivia down the aisle, his hand firm on hers, his eyes shining with tears. "You were once a girl in rags who fixed my jet," he whispered. "Now you are my daughter." As Olivia reached Jerry at the altar, the crowd rose. She spoke her vows with a voice that carried strength and humility. "I lost myself in the tragedy of my parents. I slept on the streets with no hope. But one day, I dared to say, 'If you permit, I will fix it.' That moment changed my life. Today, I am not only the head of Africa's largest jet maintenance branch, but I am also marrying the son of the man who gave me a second chance. This is proof that no darkness is too deep for light to find us again." The cathedral erupted in applause. Andrew wept openly, holding his hands to the heavens in gratitude. A year later, Olivia cradled her newborn son in her arms. Jerry stood beside her, smiling proudly. They named the boy Jonathan, after Andrew's late father. As Andrew held his grandson, tears streamed down his cheeks. He had built empires, flown across continents, and commanded industries, but nothing compared to this. A family restored. A legacy continued. Looking at Olivia, he whispered, "You were the answer I never saw coming. My life is complete." And Olivia, once a homeless girl in rags, now smiled through tears of her own. She had found her place, her purpose, her love. The girl who once begged for scraps was now a woman whose story inspired the world. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.